Why don't you tell the world something that they don't know about you?
I don't think the world knows a lot about me at all.
That's right, because you're a very mysterious person.
I am not that mysterious.
Some people don't believe you're even real.
I'm not. I'm a figment of literally everyone's imagination.
Are you?
I am.
Okay. So, Crystal, tell us, what would you like to talk about today?
We can talk about a wide variety of subjects, but what we were talking about earlier was about being a gamer, being a girl gamer, a parent, and
Okay.
all of the unique challenges and things that happen uh, in that situation. Because a lot of people have this idea of they have an image in their mind of what a gamer is, both tabletop and computer games, and
So there's more than one kind of gamer.
there are multiple kinds of gamers.
What can you tell us? Tell us, the world up there. What kind of gamers are there? I mean, what defines one type of gamer over another? And are there people who play on multiple types of games, or
There are
and,
people.
and what kind of games are we talking about here? Are we talking about board games, drinking games, sex games? I mean, when you think of games, you can think of a lot of different types of games.
There are lots of different kinds of gamers, and the
So
definition.
when you say gamer, what are you referring to?
I play tabletop games, and I play a few console games, and I play PC games,
Okay,
video games.
all right. So when you tabletop games, that is that like Monopoly?
I'm not that I don't play those. I do play those occasionally on the fun family night. No, when I see refer to tabletop games, I'm talking about things like D&D, Pathfinder, Slay Industries.
Well, so could you are those like a genre? I don't want to. There's a large audience out there, and they may not understand what those games are. Could you explain a little bit more
Those
about
are
those?
role playing games,
Role playing
RPGs.
games. Oh,
Each one of
what?
those RPGs,
What's that?
role playing game.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just easier to say.
Sorry, but go ahead.
That's okay. Each one of those is a different genre. D&D and Pathfinder, which is basically D&D, a little bit easy. There's a whole thing with that. Anyway, those are both fantasy role-playing games. Slay Industries is a dystopian sci-fi kind.
So is okay. I think I understand what that is.
It
Uh,
takes place in a futuristic world. There's aliens. There's a high amount of technology. The
and,
world of progress is not a pleasant place for anybody to be.
hmm. So is it different for being a female and being a gamer and playing those games? Are you stuck with certain fantasy players only, or I mean I don't understand. So are you saying that it's harder for women to be a gamer in the is it a more of a male dominated sector? Are there more males than women? I don't know.
I
Men
think
outnumber
that's
women.
going to depend on where you go.
Okay.
In the groups of people that I play with, there aren't as many female gamers as there are males. That could just be that's the group of people I play with. But it has been my general experience that there tends to be more guys than girls.
Does when it comes to these tabletop games, is there a variation in ages? I mean, is this something for just like younger women, older women, middle age? I mean, I don't understand. Can you tell us more about that?
Personally, I think that's one of the wonderful things about games is that it can appeal to a huge variety of demographics, and you're
Hmm.
all ideally going after the same goal. In the groups that I play with, I've got a group of people that I game with that I've been gaming with literally for decades.
Oh,
That are
wow.
close to the same age as myself, but then there's also a group that I game with where there's younger players that are closer in age to my daughter. In fact, my daughter is in that gaming group with us, and even older players. So it's a big span.
Is this something that somebody could easily pick up and learn? Or is it something that you have to have decades of experience playing?
If you've got the right game, it's super easy to learn. And actually, I think even there's different kinds of systems. There's crunchy systems. There's a lot of math.
What does crunchy system mean?
There's a lot of adding in it.
Okay.
There's a lot of different rules that all have to come together for you to figure out what it is that you're doing. There's more streamlined systems. And everybody has a preference. I prefer a more streamlined system. That's one of the reasons why I like Slay. Yeah, it's really easy. There's not a whole lot of did I do this? Do I have to add this? There's a little, but it's streamlined. It's easier for both the players and for the GM. I think that's the person who runs the game.
Okay.
I would recommend something like that for more experienced players because it, depending on who's running it, does have some dark themes. But it's easy to play.
Okay. Are there games that, so there are games that are depending upon what you're playing are more difficult than others?
Yeah, I wouldn't say.
Is there a game that you'd recommend then at that same aspect though, that is easier for someone that was interested in starting out?
I think it would depend on what you're looking for. I just started playing D&D again here this last couple of months. I'd been playing Pathfinder as far as fantasy games go. Again, for a long time. In fact, the game that I am currently in for Pathfinder was started before I was diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So this game has been going on over 5 years.
So, wait a minute. Is Pathfinder the game, or is it a game within a game?
Pathfinder's the system that's being used.
Okay.
Yeah. And the game, again, that's one of those things that there's lots of different options. You can purchase adventures that have everything that you need. You can basically just let your players meander around and do what they want to do. It depends. It's a collaboration. The game is a collaboration between the GM and the players. Everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. For people who are just starting out, it might be easier to get something that's pre-written. That way it runs you through everything and you've got everything there, so you don't have to think on the fly. And once you get a couple of those under your belt.
So, what is the average cost to get into one of these tabletop games for someone who is interested in playing?
More expensive than you might think, honestly.
Really?
The
it's
rule
expensive,
book,
you say?
Yes. The rule book for
Let me
Pathfinder.
check my bank accounts and see if that's true. It is.
The player's guide for Pathfinder that I picked up for myself. The only reason I got one for myself rather than using one that other people had was a small. It's like yay big, and it was like $30 as opposed to the $50 that the normal sized one was. And you know me, I'm all about a bargain, so I was totally good paying $30. And whatever, I'll use a magnifying glass. I don't care.
So once you buy the initial, is it like a starter pack? After you buy that, is there additional ongoing costs?
There's not really, and you don't even necessarily have to buy a hard copy book. Chances are your GM will have one that they might be able to let you borrow. You can always find materials online. And if you ever come to the online gaming communities that I have found have been actually really helpful. If you are ever concerned about something or you don't know how to interpret a rule, there are tons of forums where people let me walk that back a little bit. Chances are somebody has already brought this up, people have already discussed it, and there's already a general consensus. There's tons of house rules. People that like, nah, I don't like that rule, I ain't doing it, or I think this is stupid, we're doing it this way. But you will find generally a helpful community that is going to help you through any questions that you have, and they want you to have a positive experience too. There are always going to be shitheels on the internet. Can I say shitheels in this?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, there's always going to be shitheels, so be careful where you're going, because you can run into them, but...
Okay. So, what do you think, if you had to say and pick two or three different barriers, what are barriers for women in the gaming community then?
What are barriers to women?
Well, are there barriers?
There's not barriers per se, but there's expectations. And when I was much younger, when I was but a larval gamer, the expectation generally was that it was something that guys did. There weren't a whole lot of options for girls who were into gaming. There was always the expectation that you were just there because the guy you were dating was into it, or again, I was lucky enough that the group of people that I gamed with weren't like that, but there was a pretty big... It was fairly pervasive in gaming culture, and every once in a while somebody would come to games and they would, well, there's girls here. And you're like, yeah, well, the girl's in charge of the Doritos, so you can shut up, or, no snacks for you.
Okay.
Control the snacks, you control the world.
So, you would, when it comes to these characters in the games themselves, it's, do you write the rules, or are the rules written out for you? So it's not, a male dominated, like we're a bunch of barbarians running around. I don't know the games themselves. So, or is there roles that are female and male that are more, fluid?
Because it's player generated, for a tabletop game, the player is in control of a lot of that. Your character is exactly what you want them to be. They can be covered from head to toe in like a giant tin can with a pokey stick, or you are only limited by your imagination, and your imagination is where you take your character to go, which is different. Video games, well, there's always I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there's the classic joke of the scantily clad girl armor for video games, where the male character is completely decked out in full plate mail, and the female's got like a bikini and a piece of shoulder armor.
Well, that's sexist.
And I think you've seen that episode of Viva La Dirt League with the one character. She just wants to get a breastplate, and it keeps turning into a bikini top. And anyway,
Viva La Dirt League is another YouTube channel. Thank you very much for the the pitch for him. Okay. So back to the tabletop gaming. What other kinds of gaming? You said that you enjoy some video games.
I do.
Are these video games based on the same type of genre as your other interest, or are they, or do you play more shooter games, first-person shooters, or?
I'm not really a big fan of the first-person shooter. Shoot 'em up games have never really been my thing, with the exception of Resident Evil, because although I don't think that really counts as your older ones weren't really. Never play your old favorites. Never go back and play your old favorites. That's a piece of advice from me to everybody. If there was a game that you loved when you were younger, don't go back and play it. Just keep it in your memories, because when you go back to play it again, it sucked. It wasn't nearly as good as you thought it was. Keep it in your heart. Don't look at it again.
So is that called the Shadowrun rule? make me buy a whole computer system just so you can play one game.
I loved that game.
And that's still the only game we have for it. But we have the whole system and one game. So is it called the Shadowrun rule?
I don't think that there's a name for it. If it is, it's
Well,
probably
if there
not the
isn't, it
Shadowrun
should be
rule.
called the Shadowrun rule. Don't go back and play games that you had as a favorite when you're younger. We'll call that the Shadowrun rule.
Did like that
Okay.
game. Anyways, a friend of mine introduced me to Borderlands, and I fucking love that game.
What is that? What is Borderlands?
It's a game that I play on Steam. It's a PC game.
What is Steam?
Steam is a platform for playing video games
On
PC.
Okay, on the computer.
Mhm.
Okay.
And yeah, I absolutely loved it.
All right.
God. Borderlands 2 still a huge
Well,
favorite of
what
mine.
is Borderlands? What's the object of Borderlands?
You're just killing a bunch of people.
Oh, okay. So it is a shooter game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it's I don't know that I can describe it in a manner that does the game justice. There's a lot of dark humor, which I am a huge fan of. But it's not just a shooter game. There's I don't know if you're familiar with the game. There's a group of people who contend that the bad guy in the game actually had a point. I don't think so. He definitely deserved to get killed. He was a dick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tabletop games, first producer and shooter as in Borderlands, and other games that.
Yeah.
You said that there was more difficulties though for being a female and being a gamer, and being a mother and a gamer.
Yeah.
Can
Well,
you talk about that?
before I talk about that, I just want to say that I'm very happy with the older I've gotten, the younger generations of gamers. It seems like there's been more and more acceptance towards more and more groups of people gaming. It's not nearly as unusual as it used to be to see a bunch of different kinds of people in the local game shop, and everybody's getting along to the most part. But I think that gaming culture still has some toxic elements, but I've seen a lot of improvement from back when I was younger, when people just kind of assumed that you couldn't possibly be into that because that wasn't for girls.
'Cause I always assumed gamers were, in my mind, I pictured gamers as being, 15, 16-year-old boys in their mother's basement eating Doritos, drinking Mountain Dew, with a Zelda t-shirt on, and they probably hadn't showered in 5 or 6 days, just playing, some, game like that. I mean, that's in my mind. That's what I have in my mind is the picture of a gamer. Now, obviously, it's wrong because I've seen your gaming group in my house, and they do look like they have showered within the last 5 days.
Yes,
So,
and
but they do have Mountain Dew, and they do
Mountain
have
Dew.
the Doritos.
And there's a wide range. I don't think anybody's.
So I was
living
about
in their
75%
basement.
right.
Yeah, you've got medical professionals. You've got law enforcement. You've got career military. You've got
So it's
educators.
all walks of life.
All walks of life.
Wow, all kinds of occupations, huh?
Mhm.
Socioeconomic, rich, poor, middle class, everybody.
Yep.
People game.
Yep.
And they do this on purpose.
Yeah. And lots of times there's tacos.
And lots of times there's tacos. Yes, at least there is in our house.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tacos.
Hey, when you're having a game, in my opinion, it's not just a game. It's a social event. You're bringing your friends over. make some food. Get some yummy beverages. Have fun. Yeah, you're going to be murdering people, but you know what? You can also have some tacos.
Okay. I mean, so are there other games that you like to play besides?
Yeah,
those?
my when it comes to video games, my interests are pretty eclectic. Minecraft is my jam.
Minecraft is your jam?
Oh yeah,
I don't understand what that means.
it is my default favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, always love that.
Okay. Thank you. So, what is it about Minecraft that you like besides the fact that it looked like, the entire game looks like it was made in 1986 on a Commodore 64?
Don't diss the Commodore 64, man.
Well, that's just what it looks like. It has the graphics ability of a Commodore 64.
What?
But go
do I
ahead,
like about that?
tell the world, what is it that you love about Minecraft?
I love that it can.
And I'm sorry for making fun of the game, but go ahead.
As you should be. I love the fact that it can be whatever anybody wants it to be. Part of what I love about it is the community aspect, the modding community.
There are more than one player at a time?
Yeah.
I thought you guys everybody just had like one copy of it and just kept on passing it around.
No. You. Can't even look at you right now.
So there are more than one of you out there.
Yes.
Wow. Huh. 'Cause I was hoping you'd be done with the game so we could pass it on to the next player so we wouldn't have to have it anymore.
No, everybody's got their own
Minecraft.
Yeah.
You like the modding community.
The fact
I didn't know
that,
there was a modding community.
Yes. I just love the fact that it is a community. Whatever you want to get done, you can get done. Somebody out there has done something, and you can support a lot of these people for the work that they do, because a lot of the work that they put in is pretty intense. You're altering a ton of code, even if you're just going in and popping in 5 different varieties of flour. But I love the community aspect of it. Collaboration and sandbox games are always pretty popular.
What's that?
You can just play around. You can do whatever you want. There's a huge creative mode to it. You can literally do whatever you want.
Kind of like open source?
Open source.
Yeah.
The code for Minecraft is open. People have it. They tinker with it. They play with it.
So it's open source.
I don't know that. I don't think
someone owns the game, but multiple anybody who can make the product better and then pass it on, and then they'll do updates from there.
No, you're not really updating the game itself. What you're doing is creating add-ons or changes for it. Now the group that owns Minecraft has worked with some of the modders before. The person that made the Mo Creatures mod, they actually worked with him to do the horses that they eventually added to the game that became part of the vanilla game. So they have worked with modders, but the game itself, you're not actually changing that. You're doing add-ons.
Okay.
That huge folder that I keep dumping things into on the computer, that is...
I'm going to take your word for it. I don't look in your folders. Did that once before. Never doing that again.
Okay.
So, back to gaming.
Yes, it's a big community, and I like that. I like the fact that when the kids come over, one time they came over, and for whatever reason, the kids decided they wanted to build a hotel. So we spent the day in Minecraft. The kids brought over their laptops, and we all built a giant hotel. And one of them put a murder basement in. I'm still not entirely sure why, but the whole group was working, and all of a sudden, one of the kids goes, "Don't go in the basement!" Like, we didn't build a basement. Yeah, that's what I meant. We didn't build a basement. So, yeah. Then all of a sudden there's a basement. It's full of lava. There's cobwebs. There's arrows.
Murder basement.
Yeah, murder basement.
Who are these kids that you speak of?
These would be your nephew and your nieces.
They came over and built a murder basement.
One of them built a murder basement, yes. The rest of us built a lovely hotel.
You know, it's been a while since I've been in my own basement. I should probably go down and check. Oh boy. So
It was base protection. If somebody tries to break into your base, well, then they're in lava, and that's what you get.
okay. I didn't know there was lava in the game.
Hmm.
So there's tabletop games.
Hmm.
There's video games
Hmm.
on computer systems, right?
Hmm.
And video game consoles.
Yes.
Is there any other type of gaming, or is that just those three?
There's phones. And whether or not people who game on their phone are considered gamers is going to, you're going to start a fight wherever you go. Personally, I think if you're playing a game and you're enjoying it, then you get the title of gamer. I don't care if you're on your cell phone.
So with hunting, Pokemon hunting, poke hunting as you call it, would that be considered a game on your phone?
I'm just surprised you didn't say the Pokemons.
I listened to you a little bit. So
Yes, that counts.
that it counts as a game on your phone.
Yes.
I think you're missing a large section of gamers out there that you should probably talk about before
Are those the
we end
fantasy
this.
football gamers?
No, no. That we should talk about before we end this stream, because you're probably going to have some of your friends who will see this, and you're forgetting about the LARPers.
I am forgetting about the LARPers. Wow.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of friends who are
And
LARPers.
can you tell the audience out there what a LARPer is?
That's a live action role player. Those are people, again, there's a big variety. There's some people who are um, very into costuming. They've got super detailed costumes they put a lot of work and effort into. Some people, they don't have the time or the materials to do so, and at least from the groups that I'm familiar with, I'm not a LARPer myself. So my knowledge of what goes on is peripheral and restricted to the friends of mine that are LARPers, but they've all seemed pretty well accepting, regardless of how much time that you had to put into it. As long as you're there and you're dedicated to the game, they're cool with you. But yeah, that's people are getting up, running around. It's when I'm gaming, I'm sitting like this and I'm staring at people and we're wandering back and forth. There are in fact tacos. They're actually getting up, moving around. Ultimately, it's probably healthier for you than.
Would people who are into reenactments, like Civil War reenactment, would they be LARPers?
I would assume so, but the one time that I made that comparison, the person got very, very spicy at me. So,
Well, like, do they have another term for that? For those like historical reenactments?
Historical reenactments,
Well,
yes.
we can call them whatever they want, but aren't they still
Yeah.
live action role playing?
I would think so. I would assume it falls under the same thing. You're still getting up. You're still putting on costume. You're still going through an elaborate performance. I would consider it the same thing.
So those people who were at the Renaissance Fair every weekend, would those people be LARPers as well?
Our Renaissance Fair is only one weekend, honey.
Oh, I'm sure there's people go from one Renaissance Fair to another.
Yes, probably.
Oh, I've seen those people. You know those people. If they could go to 15 Renaissance fairs, they'd go to 15 Renaissance fairs.
Wouldn't you though, Doc McAleese?
Yeah, but see, that's only good in small doses. You guys take that stuff way to the extreme. Now that you brought that up and you pitched it, tell people what Doc McAleese is.
At our local Ren Fair, there's a purveyor of fine sodas called Doc McAleese.
It's handmade soda.
That's some damn good soda. Anyways,
It's small batch soda.
we have you buy the bottle and then it's however much for each refill. I think it's like $1 to $2 depending on the size of the bottle that you've bought. And there's a ton of people that don't even go to the Ren Fair who will just call you up and tell you, hey, you want to swing by and pick up my Doc McGilly's bottles and fill them for me. So you go by somebody's house, they'll give you like 15 bottles and $30, and you will. Your job is then to be the soda pusher.
So is that what you are? Are you a pusher?
I am the soda pusher. I will get you your Doc McAleese.
Is there anything else that you'd like the world to know about gaming? And not to judge you, not to look down on you. You guys are not just teenage pimpled boys in someone's basement.
I mean, people can judge me all they want. Uh, I've got a thriving career. I've got a mortgage. By most accounts, I am adulting on all cylinders, as they would say. So unless somebody else is paying my bills, I don't really care what they have to say. But
Is that the consensus of most people who role play, or is that just you?
That is just me. That is just me.
Are there just others like groups, like in societies or something like that, of people?
Oh, come
You know
on.
what I'm saying? Like, are
There's always somebody somewhere who thinks they're going to get to have an opinion about how you live your life and how you suck.
is it kind of like a mind's eye society? Is what I'm asking.
Oh.
Is there groups like that, like societies of players?
Oh yeah, there's Pathfinder societies. There's Facebook groups. The Slay community is still kind of small. Just because the game it's an older game. It's actually out of the UK, so a lot of the players are there. But with Facebook and stuff like that, the community's become more connected. Yeah, there's tons of communities. You can find them both online and in person. You can even head down to your local game shop. That's the group that I play with on Saturdays. That is where we started playing with them. They were looking for other people to game with.
Game shop?
Yeah.
What's that?
The game shop. The bookstore.
Oh, okay, a bookstore. I'm like,
You don't know the game shop?
nope. Didn't know there was a game shop.
Yep.
So, what would you say the most difficult part about being a gamer is?
Currently, having a baby who wants you to play and also wants to slap the keyboard.
So is there a difference between being a parent of a 3-year-old and being playing tabletop games versus video games or
The
computers?
benefit to playing tabletop games when you've got a toddler is that you can get up. Right? You can do what you're doing, you can interact with your group while also spending time with your child and taking care of your child needs. It's definitely something that allows you to multitask. And there have been multiple times where it's like, okay, can you guys take over for me for a bit while I'm doing X? You've got something you've got to do. I'm going to go take care of Taco now. You're going to have to edit that out because I used his name. But stuff like that. Or
Oh, trust me, everybody out there already knows the taco story. If you want to tell the taco story about how our son got the nickname Taco, go ahead and tell him. And you didn't use his real name; you just used his nickname.
So, for those of you who aren't aware, I am a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with a highly aggressive form of cancer, metaplastic carcinoma. I underwent what they call dose-dense chemo. It was a lot of chemo, really close together, and radiation. I already had some other health issues, PCOS and things like that. To make a long story short, I had this cluster of health issues, including the big one, the cancer, that definitely would have made becoming pregnant nothing that was on my radar. So a year...
It was on mine.
A year after I had finished radiation, I went in to the doctor because I hadn't been feeling well for a while, and I'm going to back this up a second and let you know. Somebody's going to ask, how did you not notice? And I'm going to tell you that from the time about halfway through radiation until about a year ago, I had low-grade nausea all the time. So I constantly felt a little bit ill. So keep that in mind. So I'd gone to the doctor because I just wasn't feeling very well, and I was like, I've had some stomach issues, and feels like things are getting worse. And the day before my doctor's appointment, I had told a good friend of mine that we really needed to cut back on the taco lunches because my pants didn't fit anymore. And then I had that doctor's appointment, and she told me that I was pregnant. Which, like I said, not even on the radar of things. So she does this thing where she's pushing around my belly, and she's like, there's a little arm, and there's a little head, and I'm like, fat roll, I got no idea what you're feeling here, lady, but there's nothing there. Because the cancer that I had, well, all cancers, but this one, metaplastic carcinoma has been known to metastasize without using the lymphatic system. All cancers, of course, can do so, can metastasize. Anyways, we were concerned that the cancer had come back, so we had the usual, bunch of diagnostic tests, bunch of different doctor visits to make sure that I was actually pregnant and not that I had cancer. And yeah, it turned out that I was 5 months pregnant. And it wasn't the tacos. So that is how our son got the nickname Taco.
Going back before all this, although that is a great story, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? It is a great story. But going back before this, though, right shortly after the radiation and chemotherapy, the part that you skipped over was that your doctor originally wanted you to have a hysterectomy because if the cancer was going to show back up, you more likely were going to get it.
Yes.
But you couldn't because you got a fever.
That is true. They had recommended that I have they had recommended that I have a hysterectomy. I do have subsequent genetic testing discovered that I had a couple of mutations. The one that I had that increases your breast cancer risk also increases your risk of ovarian cancer. Although, recent research is beginning to indicate that perhaps it's not ovarian cancer, that a lot of those cancers seem to actually be arising in the fallopian tube. You did not need that information, but now you have it.
I'm sure a lot of people out there would love to hear us talk more about the gaming. Now that we've taken a little jaunt over here for a while, now let's kind of veer back towards the gaming part.
So Taco likes to watch me play games. And he will occasionally grab me by the hand, walk me over, and actually sit me down in front of the computer and point at the mouse. Which is all great. We actually have a Minecraft world called Taco Land that is just creative mode because he likes to fly around and look at stuff. The problem is he also wants to play, which is just him open palm slapping the keyboard, and things can happen. And he's a smart little bugger. He knows when you give him a fake keyboard that that's not the real keyboard.
Okay. I try not to lie to my son. So let's go back.
I'm all about lying to him.
Let's go back to the gaming part, though, for you and your experiences. In the past, you said that when you were younger, there was some difficulty with people judging you because they thought you couldn't be into it because you were just there because your boyfriend or the guy you're with who was into it.
Access to stuff and access was not restricted, but you always had to go through someone who... It's kind of like... What's a good way to describe it? Say you... I have no idea. I'm trying to think of a really great way to describe it from a dude point of view. And I don't...
Can you put it in terms about cars?
say that there was something wrong with the car,
Okay.
and you know what it is.
Oh, I know what it is.
You cars.
Yeah.
And
I car a lot of things.
yeah, you take it to the mechanic and you say it needs X, and the mechanic proceeds to ask you a bunch of questions that basically illustrates that the mechanic doesn't think that you know anything at all about car.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know anything about car. It is a
I
thing.
wouldn't have my car there, though.
Yeah.
So, as a dude, as you called me, I would take my dudeness and get my car and take my dudeness and my car somewhere else. But I have seen that happen quite a few times. I saw that happen to your mother. Actually, at an auto mechanic who talked down to your mother.
Oh.
And I thought she was about to kill the man.
Was he okay?
He did live. He did live. But he explained it in such a way to your mother that your mother looked right at him, and I could feel the pain of his soul burning in the shop office. I was just like, "Oh, you didn't do that. You didn't do that. You don't talk down to her. No." But go ahead. So I take my dudeness and take my car, and he explains to me that I don't know anything about my car or how to fix it.
So there were incidences, especially when I was younger, where I would go looking for something, and there's always somebody who assumes that you didn't know what it was you were looking for, or that you must be looking for something else. Like I said, I'm very proud, honestly, of the gaming community. As I've gotten older, I've seen a lot of that. There's I'm sure it changes depending on where you go. Again, I recognize I've got a really good group of people, and I'm sure that there's somebody that doesn't. But I've seen, from my interactions, a lot less gatekeeping.
Okay. So, before we end this, can you tell and give a message to everybody out there that if you could give them any advice, if they were interested in getting into this type of tabletop gaming or video games or PC gaming or whatever, is there a piece of advice that you would give them?
Do it. Have fun. If you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help. And if you go looking for help and you find a shitheel, keep looking.
Okay. With that, we're going to end it there. Thank you very much for sitting down and having this conversation with me about gaming. I don't know anything more, but I appreciate it anymore. Anyways.